Well, good evening, good evening, and welcome. And want to thank you so much for joining um, this evening, the 27th of June, 2024. And thank you for those joining on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook as well. Well, I want to thank you. Well, this is a Thursday night, another night of in review, and we are just going to be going through some of the key topics of the week, if anything, and you can also say what you consider your key topic to be. There's so many things which are happening in the world, in the big scheme of things, from the UK, USA, Jamaica. As a matter of fact, tonight you're going to have Trump. Trump and Biden is going to be at it. Last night you had Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer. And right now, and also in Jamaica, the big thing in Jamaica is that the Prime Minister want to shut down Bloggists, want to shut down all those guys who are talking against him. You know, going on a very dangerous ground, I must say. But anyway, let me just bring in Gary, and just welcome Gary. Hey, Gary, how you doing, sir?
Bless you, Sylbourne. I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I can't complain. It's a
Good.
very lovely UK's nice sunshine. It's not that hot, but it's really warm and it's really good. What do you think? What do you say?
Well, yeah. I mean, first and foremost, let me say it's great to be on the Sylbourne Sydial show. That's number one. You're,
Yes,
you're,
yes.
you're the hottest show around town. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, you got to speak it into existence, isn't it?
Oh,
You got to speak it
oh,
into
yeah.
existence.
Like,
Yeah.
amen. And secondly, the weather is just great. I mean, bearing in mind that, I was in Florida for the last 3 weeks,
Yes.
almost. And the sunshine, the heat, I welcomed it, but man, I'm telling you,
Yes.
it was really nice, at least to know that having a bit of Caribbean weather. I mean, you don't really need to go to Jamaica to have that kind of weather.
So it's
You
like
can
so it's like that song that says "Sun is shining, weather to the
yeah,
rescue, here I come."
yes,
You know.
yes. So it was. So yeah, it's I'm good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling well, and thank the Lord, I'm able again to be on the land of the living,
Yes.
working with a great celebrity like yourself. I'm just waiting for. I'm just
Well,
waiting for MSNBC to give you a call, and then when you get to the big leagues, you can say, "Oh, I need to call my friend Gary
well, well,
to come
well,
sit
Gary,
with me."
what can I say? I found in my wallet today some lots of money, and it was actually some Jamaican money from I was in Jamaica. I kept keeping it there, and there you are. You can have it,
So
$1,000 Jamaican.
I think that's monopoly money, isn't it?
I'm sorry.
I
I remember.
I
I remember.
remember somebody was telling me the other day, probably in the last week, if I'm not mistaken, ice now costs about $800 for one, isn't it? I remember when we used to buy ice for a cent,
Well, listen,
two
listen.
ice for a cent.
One time I went to Jamaica years ago, and my father picked me up, and the guy was trying to take up the luggage, and of course, he don't need to take luggage. My father is there, my brother is there, and so he took up the luggage, and I had a $10 in my pocket, Jamaican $10. I gave it to the guy. The guy said, "I can't buy ice cement." This is my father also said, "Yes, that can't buy ice cement." No,
True. I mean, things have gotten that bad. I mean, I was with a friend of mine. We used to go to school together back in the 80s there, and I remember when we used to drive our parents' cars. I would drive my dad's car to school sometimes, and I remember going to the petrol station, and we could put $1 in. $1 would put enough gas in the car to take us around Kingston. Could you imagine that? $1,
yes.
and now it's over 100 or whatever dollars just to put a gallon of petrol in the car. I mean, we can really see the the vast differences in the standard of living throughout the years, especially for Jamaica. I mean, there are other areas of the world, yes, that has the same kind of um, standards of living over the 10,
Yes.
15, 20 years. But because
Yes.
we are Jamaicans, I can only bring that really
Mm.
because we understand, and you would understand, and many of your listeners will understand really the changes that has taken place in
Yes.
in in the lives of Jamaicans in Jamaica.
Gary, we're on the threshold of the elections, and the elections is due July the 4th. May the 4th be with you. And of course, I haven't voted as yet. I got my postal vote here. I'm going to make sure I put it in the box tomorrow, because I'm going to, um, what's your take on it now, and how do we see it now, and what will people say? Yesterday there was the last of the major debate, which was between Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer. I watched it fully, and my review of it. I agree. I agree that it was, no, I don't agree it was 50-50. I believe actually Rishi Sunak actually did better than Keir Starmer. But Keir Starmer, I picked up, was more sort of relaxed in a sense and not kicking back too much because he was not the underdog. And more than likely, there's this, I think there's a mentality based on the polls and everything that, you know, I've got this already. But at the same time, he's trying to be very cautious because the Labour Party is very good at losing elections, not winning. And I think based on the last two elections, which was with Ed Miliband, and the second election also with uh, Jeremy Corbyn, I think signs were pointing towards the Labour victory. Not as much as now, and of course they lost. And I think that is why Labour is very, very cautious at the same time. You know, I don't know what's your take on the brief, um, you know, last night.
I it's very interesting in what you said, Sil,
Hmm.
in the sense that um, it could be classed as 50-50,
Yeah.
but I sense it really doesn't matter what Rishi would say or has done. Um, this country, I don't think, well, can I say the country? Probably it's too broad a word to use or too
Yeah.
with a brush to use, but I think within the political arena, and even though if you listened to the debate, which I know you did, and a particular individual, a particular gentleman, I'm sure you heard, he made a statement before he asked the question, and I think he spoke for many, many, many individuals in the United Kingdom. But it really doesn't matter what Rishi does or will ever do. I don't think they will ever accept Rishi as Prime
Mm.
Minister. Um, because even on the aspect of immigrants or
Mm.
the refugees coming across, I mean, Rishi was just firing salvos at Starmer, and Starmer
Yeah.
couldn't come back at him. Starmer
Mm.
could not say a word. But yet they won't see that Starmer really doesn't have an answer. And
Yes.
if he does truly have an answer for that, it will not, if he's truthful, if he gives the if he gives the right answer and not a professional answer, because there's always two ways of answering a question, isn't it? Either the
Mm.
professional view or the 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 true view. If he gives a professional view, it wouldn't be correct, because he
Mm.
has to give a view that the nation wants to hear.
Mm.
But he couldn't come back. So I really believe really that the cards are stacked up against Rishi. There is something that I wanted to read. Um, I wouldn't say the name of the person. You know him quite well, and I
Yeah.
think you have I think that you have read it already. But the individual, I believe, when he wrote this, he I think he spoke on behalf of a large section of the nation. I really believe so.
Of
Now,
the UK
I
population,
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Well, I'm. If you'd allow me to, I'll read it, but I won't. I don't think it'd be correct of me to say who wrote it, but I believe that
Yes,
you may know who the person is.
yes.
It says, with a white majority, UK electorate about to unceremoniously dump its unelected Asian British Conservative Prime Minister and almost all white shadow cabinet government in waiting in the wings. The far right
Mm.
Reform Party suddenly emerging as main challenger to the Labour Party. Am I the only one? He asked a question. Am I the only one who sense that in this general election race is a key factor, as with Brexit, that dares not speak its name? There are myriad other political determinants at play too, but I do wonder if race is a silent yet significant factor. I may be wrong, or I
Yes.
may be right. So I really believe that the undertone of what this individual is saying, it's Rishi, the Asian. If Rishi was Richard, and the Richard was um, a white middle class
English.
or upper
Yes.
class individual, then it would be a totally different outlook.
You know, there is some issues going on, especially with the with Nigel Farage Reform Party there. And I can't seem to find it, but I saw it earlier today, whereby the reform there were some racist comments being made about Rishi from the let me see, yeah, Nigel Farage. Yes, it's a Nigel Farage is dismayed. It says Nigel Farage is dismayed at comments from Reform campaigners in Clacton. Reform UK have condemned campaigners for the party who were recorded making racist, homophobic, and Islamophobic comments while campaigning to elect Nigel Farage as MP. There's an undercover filming by Channel 4 News within the Reform UK campaign in Clacton, where Farage is standing for office, also uncovered an apparent admission the party has breached a local electoral campaign spending limit in the seat. You know, Reform UK campaigners said those making unacceptable comments will no longer be part of Farage's campaign. And responding to the footage, Farage said, "I'm dismayed by the report comments of a handful of people." But there's a mentality at the same time, Gary. There's a mentality at the same time that um, Farage party or the Reform Party is more leaning towards it's very far right, and they would want to say they're more racist, if anything, isn't it? That's the sort of thinking.
Well, you
Is that a
see,
fair comment? Yeah.
from the very moment, and this happened a few years back, where the government began to secure its borders, we know from the fact that the Conservative Party had never really been left in its views, in any of its policies.
Yeah.
The Conservative Party never been, in my recollection, I'm not an avid politically savvy individual, and your listeners may have another view, which it would be interesting to hear and to know. But
Yes.
the Conservative Party has never been a leftist leaning political, having a left political view. The
Yes.
Conservative Party has always been right or center right, but it's never been left. And the Conservative Party has always almost bordered on racism, because we know that. I mean, wasn't Enoch Powell a conservative?
Yeah.
And listen to his speech that he did there in the 1970s. Was it the 1970s that he gave his speech in
The,
Smith there?
the river. The river of blood.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, um, so we mustn't be surprised. I don't think, and I really believe that the schools are doing they are doing our children and this generation a disservice, because they're not teaching history properly. They're
Yeah.
not really teaching either history, or even recent history properly.
Yeah.
They're leaving it up to the generation to decide or to
Yeah.
decide what history is saying to them today. And what
Mm.
history is saying today is not necessarily correct. It doesn't have a correct view.
So
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 so the
yeah, go on. Mm.
so the Conservative Party really, for you and I in particular, let us say we are conservative. I don't think I wouldn't say that we would necessarily vote Labour, not unless things become really, really, really. And I don't know if you're changing now because of what you are seeing. But
Yeah.
if we be honest, okay, we can always say that the conservative view, more in more ways than one, um, is very right. And if you noticed, the world today,
Mm.
I'm not saying that they're right, but the world today is becoming very, very right in their political leadings.
Well, it's interesting you say that because and we're speaking about it last week. Like La Pen in France, and the reason why Macron has called a snap election. I forget when that election is going to be, because of the rise of the right in the European election. You see what is happening in Argentina, um, as well, and you're seeing what is happening in America. I mean, tonight we're going to see the debate with Trump and Mr. Biden. I don't. I'm gonna see if I can watch that, but I mean, it's gonna be very concerning to see how Biden holds up. And there's a view that there could be another person that take over from Biden, if anything. Michelle, I want to welcome you as well. Michelle, thank you for joining as well, and for those joining. You know, so yeah, the world is changing, but I want to flag up something which I saw, and it was in Kenya. In Kenya, I don't know if you saw what is happening in Kenya, whereby there was the government was implementing some new tax policy, and the people said not over a dead body, if anything like that, and the people stood up against it, and the people demonstrate. The Kenyan president abandoned tax hikes amid deadly protest. You know, and Ruto had to, yeah, somebody said Ruto had to rescind. And Gary, I was thinking today, and I did a video. I did a video when I said that when political persons, uh, prospective parliamentary candidates, knock on people's door and say, "Hey, I'm the man, I'm the woman of the hour, I'm the one who's going to change things," you know, and the person speak to them, and they try to sway them, and they try to woo them and say, "Vote for me." When they're having that conversation, there's nothing negative out there, nothing negative from that candidate. That candidate is saying all the positive things. But when they're going to office, it's like it's like there's a conspiracy, or they conspire in a sense to wreak havoc upon the people.
Now, I would like for you,
Mm.
myself, I'd like for our listeners to consider this aspect, though,
Yes.
that sometimes those who win general elections they actually take a choice, a poisoned chalice.
Yes.
Now, the former president of Kenya, which was Kenyatta, yes,
Yes. Mm.
okay. Why did he not contest? Why did he more or less call the election and say he's not running? You see, sometimes you have to look at these things because he knew exactly what was coming. You see,
Mm.
people who are in the know, and there's no political leader, whether they're in opposition or not. I mean, those who are not in opposition but they're in power, obviously,
Yes.
yes, they may know a lot more stuff than
Yes.
than what the leader of the opposition would, but they know a lot more what is coming down the pipe more than
Mm.
what the citizens of the respective countries are or what they would ever know. So why did Kenyatta call an election and not contest the election? But he more or less conceded it to Ruto. I
Uh,
mean, I think he knew what was coming. The political commentator who I was listening to, I can't really say which station it was,
yes.
informed the listeners, which I was one, that over the years, Kenya had borrowed money. Kenya had taken out loans.
Mm.
Loans are loans that needs to be repaid. Loans are not so-called grants that are
Yeah.
given and then the country does not have to plan to pay them back. The
Mm.
money that has been loaned to these countries, and let us say to the African countries and third world countries which they are a part, has to be repaid. And if it has to be repaid, it's going to come in the form of taxes.
Mm.
And Kenya was one such country that needs to address the loans. The loans sometimes far exceed whatever is coming into the country.
Mm.
And the country will never, there will not be enough years for some countries to pay back these loans. Never. And so what Kenya at this moment in time is experiencing, it is because of the years that former governments and presidents have taken out, knowing that there's going to be a time when all of these loans are going to be called in. Money is going to have to be exchanged. Interest rates have been set already.
Mm.
Now it's sad. It's sad that there was a lot of deaths on the streets, a lot of carnage on the streets of Kenya. We don't we don't want to hear that happening in any country at all. But it's going to happen, Sylbourne. It's going
Yeah.
to happen. Kenya is not the only time, and there are other things that's going to come out, all because the governments who are stepping in, there is no money to repay back these loans, and they're going to have to raise it through the tax and tax hikes. And if
Yeah.
you noticed, and I think you did allude to it, the president of Kenya had to pull that. He had to pull it because it was
Mm.
destroying the country. Now, whether the government addresses it now or later, it's going to have to be addressed.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't think there's any country that can ever, and for Kenya in particular, because we're talking about that one of Sylbourne, there's going
Yeah.
to come a time when Kenya will have to address the loans that have been taken out over the many years. How are they
Do,
going
do,
to pay back?
yeah. Do you know that I've got a neighbor and he's South African, and then another South African mate as well. One is a white Afrikaner, and one is black. And there we were thinking that it's a done deal with with the president, ANC, and DP, that party there with the white guy. And I heard and understand that that deal has sort of fallen through, and maybe it's going to be a deal possibly with Zuma and Malamba, I think. But guess what? We understand that the electoral commission has been corrupted as well,
Yeah,
whereby
I
a lot of
mean,
money has been spent there. So I said to my virgin, so what's going to happen? What's the solution? He said, there's no solution. He said, I said, shouldn't they call another election? So what is happening now? You're seeing, and it's not just Africa, we're not going to talk about Africa only, but there's a lot of changing of the guards which are happening around the world now. A lot of changing of the guards which are happening around the world. And while the changing of the guards are happening, people are actually there reaping the repercussion of decisions people have been made and been making for years. I think we have said many times that a lot of these decisions which are being made by persons, these persons are going to be dead by the time that people are going to be growing up and benefiting, or in a sense reaping the holocaust, if that's the right word, of these things.
you see, I don't think I don't know. I don't know if the citizens of the world or the citizens of of these countries really know what is up ahead for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
When you look at the situation in our country, in England here, where we
Yeah.
live, now we are seeing a little bit. We have experienced. I don't think we've fully felt the effects of what really could happen. But do you believe? Do we think in this country that
Yeah.
when we got the benefit during the COVID years of staying in our home, not going to work, and still getting paid full salary by the government, and
Yeah, you
then
can.
leave,
You're saying this. I know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
and then not having to pay it back? No,
Yes.
no, Silver. No. Anything that the government gives us that we think is free, we're gonna have to pay it back. And I think that whether it is labor or whether it is conservative, you know, six
Because
of one and half a dozen of the other,
because
we will never be able to evade
mm,
the situations that are coming upon us, and there are greater problems coming.
because that was what's the right word? That was a, a master stroke or a brilliant concept on the Rishi regarding this furlough. I mean, can you imagine being at home, not going anywhere, locked in, and getting paid? You know, and getting
Exactly,
paid.
exactly. I mean, can you imagine that?
Mm.
Can you really imagine that? Now the and listen to this. Well, not listen to it, but let me show you something here. That was if it was Rishi, that was a stroke of genius. But the country does not consider that of what Rishi has done for them. What
Yeah.
they're seeing is an Asian gentleman.
Mm.
Now, I think Rishi has done his best. I think
Mm.
Rishi has done his best even after that by bringing some kind of credibility, of some kind of credibility back to the business of government. Boris Johnson, he may have been a brilliant tactician. He may be a genius. Some people consider him even now to be a genius
Mm.
in the way how he works. And I don't have anything personal against him. I can't hate a man that I don't know. I don't hate him. I just
Mm.
think that really the way how he went about doing things, to me, is very deceiving and deceptive. And I don't believe that well, he was very disorganized in his way, and probably geniuses behave that way. Sometimes they look very disheveled or very they don't
Yeah.
look as if they have things in order.
Yeah.
But geniuses work. There are some geniuses who work that way. We
But
don't need
anyway,
someone
yeah,
like that really.
yeah.
And I believe that because if it was a white man who did that while he was in power, they wouldn't have a problem with him right now. They would
So what?
vote him
Yeah.
back in. They
So
would
what you're
vote.
actually, yeah. So what you're actually saying, and you have alluded to this many times, is that in a way the the failure of Rishi would be the fact that he's Asian.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Whether, even though many people glorify in the success in the sense that the UK has made a turn whereby we have a Asian mayor for London, we've got a Asian prime minister, we have had Asian home secretary, we have had black home secretary, Asian home secretary, but at the same time you are trying to say that people do not actually accept it. The the
yes. I mean, I don't really believe that this country is actually ready to physically vote an Asian in that. Now, I mean, look at the debate that took place between Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak yesterday.
mm,
Okay, if you read in between the lines of the questions and statements of what was said yesterday, um, they
yeah.
for me, probably for me, others wouldn't probably think that way,
Mm.
but they're not ready for Rishi. And the best out of the two, the best one out of the two is Starmer, even though they don't consider him to be strong.
Yeah. They're just going for the change. They just want to change from the 14
They
years at the
want
same
to
time.
change,
Yeah, change for the
but
14 years. Yeah.
Starmer is not convincing enough for the
Yes.
collect for the electorate. He's not
Yeah.
convincing enough to be a
Yeah.
strong leader. Yet they prefer to go for him than
And
to
keep
keep
pushing.
Rishi.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The American president, they're having that debate tonight. Michelle, I don't know what you meant when you say um who let that happen. If you can clarify who let that happen, is it the furlough or so? The UK, the USA, gonna have their debate tonight. You know, um, what do you think about it? Biden and Trump to face off in first presidential debate. You know, first presidential debate. You know, this is going to be. They said Biden has been taken to Camp David, where they're gonna be. Well, don't want to say what they say, but anyhow, they're going to be working him and preparing him for this time with Trump. And Trump is actually saying that he was going to try as much as possible not to talk over his opponent, if anything. You know, in a way, when you look at the world and how things are happening, it's a scary place, I would say, with a Biden, because there's that evidence and there's lack of that firmness, a firm hand. I don't know if I can say that for Trump. I don't know if he has learned over the years, especially with his Twitter machine, as he become a bit more mature, as he become, at the same time. But one thing, when you compare Biden and Trump, one can actually know what you're going to get with a Trump. And what you actually got with a Trump over the years, you never had any of these wars, you know. At the same
Yeah,
time, and he was going around um, meeting with these different guys and having a conversation. I don't know if he's going to be driving a Russian an American car with Kim Wong Hyun driving around the place like what Russia did. Russia was driving the car with Kim Jong Un. So it's a very interesting dynamics, leading up to the election in America, November the 5th. Jamaica election is due by March. But one of the things with Jamaica is that somehow all of this power is in the hands and is at the mercy, at the pleasure, and at the ledger of the Prime Minister of Jamaica. So what do you want to say about Trump? And then I want to jump on Jamaica very quickly because this is a very important issue, which is very going on. Say any last word you want to say with Trump, and I want to jump on Jamaica about this ledger and pleasure.
I think with President Trump, obviously, I don't know. Biden, probably he may be the better of the two, but he is. I think it's a pity that he's of this age. It's a pity that he is of this age.
Trump.
I feel it. No, I'm talking about Biden. Yeah. I'm coming to Trump. Biden seems to be what's against him is his age, but also what seems to be against him also is his dealings and the decisions in which he's making in regards to Israel, as well as what happened when he first came into office where Afghanistan is concerned. Yes. I mean, these two things are a black mark, a black stain against him. And Trump has been highlighting these problems.
Yes.
Now, obviously, if Trump gets in, he's sending a signal to the rest of this world, Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, even the Ukraine, that he's going to do something about it. Now, what he will do, we just don't know. And that's the uncertain, he is an unknown quantity. As far as the world is concerned, he is not a career politician. He's never been a career politician. Biden is. He is a career politician.
Yeah. And he's been there for years. He's been there for years. Yeah.
He has served in all executive branches as far as U.S. policy, government, and legislature is concerned. So Biden knows how to play. Trump doesn't. But Trump sees what he sees, let's say, through rose-tinted glasses. And it may not be that way, but he thinks that being the man at the helm of the most powerful nation in this world that the world has ever known, then he can use the power at his disposal to settle the problems that this world is having to face. That is what the leaders of this world are afraid of.
Well, what Michelle says is that both need to go. They should have allowed John Kennedy to debate. It looks like Jamaica and USA are run in the same boat. I don't know if you have been following some recent developments in Jamaica, which has been really concerning. I listened to a post-cabinet presentation yesterday, and in all the different ministers who were there talking and giving their presentation, they alluded to fake news, alternative fact, attack against them. They were whining, actually. Vaz, Christopherson came up with his stick, whining. Babsy Grange came up talking about something, and they punctuate the whole thing with whining. And it strikes me so much like children, unfortunately. And then what made it even worse was when the Prime Minister said that he's going to be tracking. He can track. He has the ability to track persons on social media who says things which are not true, or who says things which are not to the favor of the government. He said there are too many good things which are happening. And the danger about it, Gary, is that whenever a government or any person trying to track or trace persons who are speaking on social media, I spoke to someone earlier today, and they said even when they had the demonstrations for the 300 and the 200%, a lot of people were all behind it, but they didn't want to go out there and show their face because they feel like they will be victimized, you know. And then when Chris Tofton, who is the Minister of Health, actually said, when against all the criticism and against him and against the ministry and the missing of money and all those sort of things and press releases which are coming out from the opposition and bloggers, he said that he's serving at the pleasure and at the ledger of the Prime Minister of Jamaica, and all other voices are just, or other sounds are just noise. And when I hear pleasure and ledger, I always think about king and queen and Regina and monarch, you know. And so you're finding that there is a somewhat of a separation. The government also, they're in this little cocoon, you know, with an extension with their people or their bloggers. And then what they have done, they have separated themselves from the people or now against the people. Because social media was what brought them there in the first place. You know, but the whole thing about tracking, and when you hear about tracking, they say, then why don't you track the gunmen, track the scammers, track the people who goes missing, and all those sort of things? And it's a dangerous ground. It's a very dangerous, slippery ground. You're moving towards dictatorship, Gary. That's what's that's how, you know. And if people in Jamaica don't stand up to it, just like that's why I said in my video, maybe the Kenyans actually showing what to do, like with the Arab Spring.
Yeah,
Jamaicans
but
were
I
like,
don't. Yeah, but um what Kenya is doing, Jamaica has done it many times. Sylbourne. I think Jamaica has done it many times.
are you
But
talking
what?
demonstration?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have done it. Where we're not seeing it done properly, to the extent of even to what the French do. Because you know that in Europe, when the French riot or when the French protest, they really protest.
Right to the
I mean,
end. The
right
UK
to the
did for
very
two. UK did for one, what, 2 hours, three
one
hours,
day. Exactly.
and then go back to them yard.
Yeah. I mean, that's what England does.
Mm.
England, they do nothing at all in standing up. I mean, look at what they're doing now. The junior doctors, I believe they're walking out.
Mm.
How many times I've heard that this is the 11th time in
Yeah.
as many and in as many months. I mean, some even went on to say in 20 months from the time 20 months ago they began to protest for working conditions and pay, and still they receive nothing.
I,
Still they
yeah.
receive nothing.
I'm going back to the whole thing regarding social media, and let me see if I can actually read some of the words, and I think we can't really hold back our disgust and concerns by some of these terminologies, you know. um, this is what the prime minister said. He said that he made several comments that fake news while addressing a congregation of individuals at the Almond Tree Hotel in Senton. That's my friend's place. I'm gone out of what you gonna say it, you know. Oh, let's say, will not mince words in his statement as he urged the youth not to take part in the proliferation of gossip, lies, and rumors for their own ends, chiefly in regards of politics. The Prime Minister would reinforce an incident in which a young man supposedly made posts on social media that were seen as defamatory and false. And he said He then claimed that said individual was he claimed that said individual was tracked down and his identity found. Think about that, Gary, being tracked down. This, however, was not an isolated case. It was part of a wider pattern of youth being recruited to engage in such activities, often by entities with particular political agenda. My view all the while when it comes on to these things, my view is that if a government or someone feel that people are saying lies or saying things which are not true, what you should do then is use that same energy and convey what is the truth. Convey your story and let it shine. But that
But
energy which you're trying to use to shut down other persons, that's dangerous, man. But
but
actually,
Sylbourne,
it's where when they're. I think that's when people are on their way out in Austin. You're saying?
I mean, look at what is happening across the globe in various areas. Now, let me bring us back to the situation in which we are now in, and I believe you will even probably home in on this, if not at the next Sylbourne show next week, Thursday, which of course is going to be voting day. So I suppose you'll concentrate on that. But probably in
I was supposed to go to the counting. Hold on. Oh, it's the fourth. It's next Thursday. Wow.
yeah, it's next week Thursday.
Hmm.
But but look at what's even happening now. Now, I am not for I'm not an advocate for gambling. No, I'm not an advocate for gambling.
Yes.
But the principle is this. The principle is this, Sylbourne. Are we really free to do what we want to do or what we think we can do?
Mm.
Because you can't tell me that this year is the only year ever since elections begun that MPs have
I bet you.
gambled with a bet. Are you telling me that this year or even last year it's never happened before? You see, there's an underlying current that is being displayed, and people got to look at this. That
Yes.
your your liberty to be free is slowly being taken away. Slowly. Now, obviously, okay, there may be some rules and regulations to the MPs. They
Mm.
shouldn't be doing it, or they shouldn't be doing that, or whatever the case may be. But there's always an underlying principle that is being made, and it's being made subliminally. It's
Mm.
not, they're not saying it verbally for as clear as day. They're not doing it. But our civil liberties are being slowly eroded to the point that in a not too distant future, um, anything that we do, it's going to be scrutinized. We
Tracked.
trapped. I mean,
Mm.
look to the extent in which the police, they're wasting resources by tracking down. It's not even that the politicians are saying that they haven't, probably one and two have come
Mm.
out, but the
Mm.
police, with all of the crime that's happening up and down the country, and they're cutting the police on the streets, they have the time to find the time to track which MP is betting and which MP is not. For what reason?
That's a very interesting point that you have flagged up in regards to over the years with elections, people bet. Um, but now everybody is so much holy than thou. Is that what we're saying? Everybody's holier than thou, or what it is you are actually reducing the freedom that people have. The freedom that people have that they exist with over the years is quickly being eroded. And I
Yes,
believe that's the whole aspect. Talk about the Pegasus project and all those sort of things. You know, everything is being shut down to a point. And someone was saying the other day, even on social media, on TikTok, he's got so many following, but at the same time, when he creates an African book for people, he can't reach anywhere. So therefore, one platform, because it's not his, they choose and say it's not for the benefit of the people that is following him. You get what I'm trying to say? And that's the thing. And whereby when other people want to create certain things, no wonder Trump started the thread or whatever like that, the different you know, because there's so much censorship. People are talking about what is what is the truth? What is your truth? Yeah. So
Mm.
it's very clear though. I mean, and we're gonna watch the space, watch this election here in the UK June the 4th, because I believe that everything is all God ordained, Gary. I believe everything is all ordained in a sense. What's going to happen in the UK? What's going to happen in America? What's going to happen with Jamaica as well? There's going to be a massive shift. There's going to be a fundamental shift which is happening out there, and the people are going to get so fed up. And there's going to be some real serious chaos out there, as
Yeah,
far as I'm
I
concerned.
yeah, I am very much of that same mindset. I mean, I
Mm,
know that. Listen, I I know that we have friends and your listeners. They're not religious. I know that. Not all
mm,
your listeners are religious, and I wouldn't want to. And we're not here to spread any religious propaganda, if we call it such, if we can, even though it's not propaganda. But we're not here
yeah.
to bash anybody or to
Mm,
try to convince anybody of anything. But I believe that every preacher, every teacher, every Christian,
yeah.
every Christian must be aware, and we must begin to make it quite clear in our message that whether we vote or not, and there are some Christians who are not going to vote. There are some people who are not going to vote because they're not convinced that there is a party, whether it's here in England, in Europe, in the United States, in other parts of the globe, in the southern hemisphere, wherever that may be, that um, they may not be convinced that there's a party that will see through the fog, through the mist, and be able to better position the country
Mm,
to deliver the policies that their
yeah.
manifesto has given. However, what we must understand and what we've got to try and communicate to the outside world and to the community in which we live is that whatever God has ordained to happen at this time, nothing is going to stop it.
Yes.
Nothing is going to stop it. Whether we vote or not, whether we believe it is inevitable, whether we think that you know leave it up to chance. People leave things up to chance. People believe that, well, it's a throw of the dice, so to speak. I want to say it's not. Because whatever is to happen within the mind of God, it has already happened. It has already happened. And
So, mm.
yeah, go ahead, sir. Go
so,
ahead.
so, 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 therefore, as we just said a while ago, with what is happening with all the different nations, leadership being changed, elections being had, it is like it's all somewhat God ordained, whereby these are things which are going to be coming to pass, whether we like it or not. Because as they say in the Bible, that just like night follow day, day follow night. the beginning and the end, the finish of our faith. I mean, at the same time, when God was saying that I don't want to give you a king, people wanted a king, so he raised up kings. He set up kings, he removed kings. He set up leaders, he removed leaders. Right. So that is what is happening around the world now. A changing of the guard. It's like somewhat. What should I say? It's like one is at the end of something, ushering the beginning of something, guy. The
Yes.
end of
Yeah.
something leading into the ushering of something. And therefore, yes. I think I know what I'm actually saying. It's a very interesting time, guy. It's a
It
very
is a
exciting.
very,
As a matter of fact, it's a very exciting time. It's a very exciting time.
yes, it
Instead of
is.
being very daunting, yeah.
It is, and I think that if we learn to accept,
Mm,
if we would only just accept and understand that
yes.
that what is to be has already been decreed.
Mm,
What is to be has already been decreed, and there is nothing at all
yes.
that will ever stop what is going to happen to happen. It doesn't matter how strong an
Yeah.
individual is or how
What is
genius
yes.
an individual is.
Yeah. What is to be is already decreed, ladies and gentlemen. What is to be has already been decreed. Those on TikTok, those on Facebook, those on YouTube, and those on Instagram. What is to be has already been decreed. You know, Gary. I think that's a good. The interesting thing though is in a world whereby there's doom and gloom at the same time, but the Bible talks about when you look up,
Mhm.
you know, your Redeemer lives.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
and and somehow you have to bring this back into some aspects of the gospel of Christ. And you
Right,
see,
right.
because you see, Gary, I know we said a while ago sometime about persons because not wanting to make it religious or whatever like that, but other religions, other groups are unapologetic. They're unapologetic with their faith. And I believe it is a time for people to be unapologetic with what they believe in. Because really and truly, like it or not, without things happening, it's like it is the end to of the start of the beginning. Yeah,
Mm,
the
mm.
end for the start of the beginning. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. Um, you know, we want to welcome you and make sure you vote in the election. Yeah, I got my postal vote here. I'm going to make sure I put. Have you voted it, Gary? Are you going to
Not
the?
yet.
You know the post? You,
I'm gonna
you
go.
do post? You do postal or what?
I'll probably just walk down to the place and go down there.
You walk down to the place and vote. Yeah, yeah. I look at the paper and it's very easy to vote for, um, as well. But it's going to be very interesting though. What I'm very interested about is the reform. How the reform is going to outflow. What do you think the reform is going to get any seats? Going to translate into seats?
Well, they say they're going to get 18, isn't it? I don't know if that has been
18.
increased
Wow.
or
Wow.
diminished. That's the last thing I heard about the
Yeah.
reform. But you see, again, isn't the Reform Party just another face of the Conservative?
It is just another face of a conservative. It's conservative persons jumping over
Yeah,
there because
yeah,
they're just fed up. They're fed up with the conservative, so they go to an alternative conservative. It's like I think it was Canada, whereby something like that happened, and they all came together and create the Conservative Party. You know what I'm trying to say? And I think that is something is going to happen. So when Keir Starmer win, if anything, then that will be the time where one take a look back take a seat and look back and see what happened. And it's going to be a very interesting period, I must say. Changes must come. And just like with Jamaica, I believe that change must come as well. I always believe, and this is just my personal view, I believe after 2 terms, 3 terms, there should be a change of the guard, because after a while, people become so full of it. Absolute power corrupts power, absolutely. You know, I mean, to the point whereby prime ministers now start to think that people are serving them at their pleasure and their leisure and their mercy, and whereby prime ministers now believe that they know what is right for the people. You know, they know what is right, and that's wrong, big time. Deep time. All right, Gary. Well, listen, take care of yourself. Yeah.
All right, sir. God bless.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. Those on TikTok, those on YouTube, those on Facebook. Remember to like and share. And I'm not going to be here this Saturday. I'm going to be on this weekend away with some men retreat at my church. And
okay.
So just going to take some time to chill as well. You know, people, it's very important to take time and chill and relax and pull away, you know, get out of everything and lock in. You know? So thank you so much, and have a good night. Peace out.
God bless.
God bless you.